Hello, this is Odoamne, and you're on the YouTube channel of the internet's most notorious ginger man, Thorin.
Right, this is going to be another episode of Reflections. And my guest for this one is going to be Vander, who is a veteran Polish support player who is technically retired now, but he works as a coach. He actually coaches FUT Esports, which is a Turkish team, if people don't know, in the TCL. So, Vander, the first place I actually want to start with you is I remember a weird detail from ages ago, which goes like this, like, didn't you actually originally play ADC before you played support or something? Am I correct in thinking this?
Yeah, that's true. It was a long time ago. I think it was like season 1 and season 2. I think in season 2 I already started playing support. But in season 1 I played in Polish team. I was playing AD, I was like high rank, and then I think Veggie wrote to me, who later was my coach in ROCCAT in my first like LEC. It was named LCS back then team. And yeah, back then I was their AD carry. But then after I failed to qualify to LEC the first time, so actually it was like season 3 already still when I played AD, because it was this big tournament in Warsaw, the qualifiers to LEC. I think Dragonborns went through, and one other team. I don't remember who, but it was this famous video where I think it was Hosan, Hosan and Shushe, like they did the chest bump, and Shushe he demolished him pretty much.
Like a Gragas move was the joke. Yeah, right? Yeah, sure.
Exactly. And after this tournament, then I had the opportunity to play support with Kraton. He wanted to play with me on bot lane, so I kind of role swapped.
If people don't know, obviously nowadays in League of Legends, they made it so support has the gold and they have champions that do damage. And the joke is like there's games where carrier does the most damage in the game, or, you know, like if someone plays Pyke, they can get all the kills. But back in those days, support was the ward bot. It was like it was actually considered the position. It's like defender in football. You put in theory, you put the least skilled player there. Obviously, the best people at the role are going to be good, right? Why switch from AD to support then? Isn't that kind of like isn't that like a bit humiliating or something? Why do you want to play support?
I mean, my main goal was to play professionally in League of Legends, and I had a good offer in my head. So I played in Millennium with Kraton. I think it was like Kerp and like other good players at the time. I don't even remember who exactly it was. As I said, like 10 years ago, even more, like 12. So I played sometimes support in solo queue. I was like very high rank player, and I felt it will be easy for me to swap from AD to support. It's like a same lane. I kind of know what my AD will need, and also especially back then, as you said, support players were pretty bad. So I saw kind of there was like a lack in this position of good players, you know.
Right. One of the interesting things is before there was such a thing as ERLs, we used to have the challenger scene, which was the scene below EU LCS, now LEC. And obviously back then there was promotion and relegation. So what you did is you played in this scene. If you get enough points and you qualified through lands, you get your chance at the promotion. If people don't know, when you came into this scene and you got the team that eventually qualified to LEC, before that you were playing lands with them and you actually won a DreamHack over Reckless's team. If people remember, Reckless was too young. He had to play in Copenhagen Wolves while he waited to come to FNATIC. You won this land. So actually, even though I know later the whole story goes that those NIP guys were like, lol, we'll just pick these guys because we're so good. Actually, your team was kind of cooking in the challenger scene, right? You were one of the best teams.
Yeah, there was like the one other DreamHack that we lost in finals. I think 2-1 to SK Gaming, which were already qualified to LEC, but I think they still could play the DreamHack, something like that. So, I mean, we were like top of the challenger scene. And the NIP picked us over other teams, and I mean they were the favorites. We were a little bit scared of them, I would say, because like we're just guys without organization, just our own name. Once I had a team that was like Overpow's meme team, something like that, and they had NIP like big names, Nukeduck, Miffy, 0-0, so like all the sponsors, right? So we are for sure underdogs, but we just did what we wanted to do.
Right, obviously, people might remember that was the match where famously they just kept letting Kale go on to Overpow and then he just sort of carried the game. But what I remember about that was their team actually had this problem many times when they didn't qualify later, which is when, even though I heard in scrims they were insane and they really did like beat even like LEC level teams, I always noticed in the promotion matches, they always played very scared when it got to the late game. Like they didn't like do any decisive moves, etc. Did you actually feel in this game, like were you guys doing anything special? Was there anything like incredible, do you think? Was there any tactics on your side to like beat them or anything special like that?
I mean, for sure, the Kale pick that we discovered pretty randomly just before the tournament. The story of this pick was more like we screamed a lot against TSM because they had some Battle of Atlantic tournament, I think.
Oh, so they came off to Europe, right?
So it was like the EU versus NA tournament, and TSM came to Berlin, and we screamed against them like 2 days in a row, I think, and we were getting stomped every single game. And then Overpow just said, "Okay, guys, you're taking this game seriously in scrims. I'm just gonna troll pick." And he just locked in Kale, randomly mid, and it was like the only 2 scrims we won against was with Kale. And then we were like, "Holy, maybe he's actually broken." And like no one played this champion back then, you know. And we were like, "Okay, let's try this champ." We kind of did some theory crafting, how it works, and we just wanted to, like, our conclusion was like on 3 items the champ is like completely broken, and our tactic was to just pick Kale, scale to 3 items of Kale, and then split push, and we thought this is how we're gonna win the game the easiest, in the easiest way, and it kind of worked, you know.
Obviously, the player who did this was Overpow, the mid laner, and even though he got to play this year, after he was the one who did the dreaded role swap top, and then that was the end of his career, basically. He had to like leave the LCS. So my question would be this: what type of player was this guy? Because I know famously he'd already come from Dota. He wasn't just a league player, and he definitely had, I don't know if this comes from Dota, he had like a very weird like philosophy on the game, Vander. He wasn't the guy who was just trying to like smash lane and get all the CS or play traditional picks. Like, who was this guy? He seemed quite unusual.
Yeah, Overpow was like one of the best Polish players in Dota. I think he won some like Polish championships in Dota. I think he played with Kraton in the team,
right?
And then like split up in the league, 2 different teams. So yeah, this guy he was very creative. He would, I mean, a lot of players, they are more like, okay, I have to play the meta picks the best. Like I'm gonna play the meta picks the best in the world, right? I'm gonna punch every CS, I'm gonna like auto space a bit better, throw my skill shots a bit better, I'm gonna like be the best Orianna, like best Syndra, right? But this guy, he was more like, oh, this new item in the jungle, it looks pretty good. Maybe I'm gonna try it on Ziggs. I'm gonna try to take camps here and there, you know, between the waves, and that's how I'm gonna get ahead. Or no one knows how to play against Mordekaiser. Got like new Mordekaiser got released, like the change. I'm just gonna pick it mid. Let's see if people know how to play against it, and they didn't, you know. So he was more like a creative guy. He was also our leader in the team. So he was our like main shot caller. For sure, he was. You could see that he's like more experienced, and he knew how to lead the team and how to be not like play to your strengths of the team, you know, in a high stress situations.
And then
so
obviously
he helped us a lot in general.
And then obviously your bot lane partner was Celaver, who you played with for a while before this as well, right? One thing I would ask about this guy is, I'm not that surprised he didn't have a great, really long career. He wasn't like some insanely skilled player, but I will say the role of ADC, it seemed like he played that pretty decent. Like he kind of knew what he was doing, right? He kind of like played within his limits, yeah?
I think the worst thing the biggest problem he had in the team was that he was performing really poor in scrims. He didn't really have this tryhard mentality to do good in scrims and then transition to stage, you know. He was more like really bad in scrims and then pretty good on stage, let's say. And then a lot of argues and conflicts came from this in the team. In general, like if you would let people listen or like see how we interact with each other, you would say like it was insanely toxic team.
Sure.
It was like full Polish, and you know Polish people are like more
a lot of arguing, I'm guessing.
Exactly, more blunt. So if you put like a guy from Sweden,
right?
Or if you would put like a guy from Sweden in the middle of the team, or like he would be scared.
Right.
You know, like Nukeduck was shocked, like what was happening sometimes.
Sure.
But yeah. Yeah, so that was the problem of Celaver, that he did play good, I think, on stage, but people were doubting him a lot because of the screen performances, and there were a lot of argues, and the practice was not as good as it should have been.
Is it fair to say, I always thought when you came in the league, look, now anyone could say they did this, but I did call it back then. I actually thought you and Jankos were the two players that seemed like the obvious ones who'd have a long career. If people don't know at the time, you were actually like a mechanical player. You were playing all the thresh and all this stuff and doing moves. Did you think of this as that you were a strong player at the time in the LEC?
For sure, in the beginning, I was worried we're not gonna do good as a team. I remember when we played the first games in LEC, we like lived in hotel and we had some, I think it was like Take TV House. It was called something like this, and we were screaming there in Cologne. And when I was like in the hot with Celaver, like we had a room together in the bot lane, I was just, please just don't go 0-28 this season. Like, so for sure, our mindset as a team was that we are new guys and it's gonna be tough for us. And then after like 2-3 weeks, when we were, I think maybe not first but second or third, something like that, we realized that we are actually good.
In this first playoffs, if you're someone who's coming from outside and you just want to be a pro, this has to be like a movie script because you get to play against Gambit, who everyone knows is like legends. At this point in time, I know as well at the time, like all the Eastern European, even though now it's aged badly, at the time all the Eastern European players used to look up to Gambit. They were like the ones who'd shown you could be the best and stuff. And then obviously after that, you then even got to beat like FORG1VEN's Alliance. Like, this is pretty cool. These were all like the best players a year before you came to the league, right?
Yeah. I mean, for me, I was playing League a bit longer. I've already played like those Challenger Series tournaments as I did before for like 2 years. So I already faced them a little bit. Most of the time I was like losing to teams of FORG1VEN or Gambit, as you said, because they were like ahead of everyone else. It was like CLG EU and them pretty much, and then everyone else. But Jankos was like the biggest Diamond Prox fan. He couldn't like sleep at the night. He was like getting excited all the time. He's like, I'm gonna play against Diamond Prox. I'm gonna play against Diamond Prox. Like, guys, please, like, he's gonna stop me in the jungle. Please help me, But it was kind of a start of decline for those guys. They had a problem with visas. They lived in Russia. They had like travel every week to Berlin, back and forth. So I think this was a big issue for them, and this was like the time where they started falling off as a team and as players.
Right, let me ask you who in this first year Jankos is, because the problem now, Vander, is everyone knows like the latter day, he's many times champion, he's won MSI, he's been in World Finals, and now he has all this reputation that I think is very different from the guy I remember, which is now he's like a captain, and he's really good at communication, and he's not toxic, and he can take the joke now is he's not even sometimes the gank jungler, sometimes he's like the cover jungler. It seems like he's completely transformed. Who was this guy in Season 4? Because I remember a very different player.
Yeah, I mean, as a guy, back then he was like, 19 when he started playing in this team, like even 18. He was like really stressed that we're going to kick him after 1 week, and he like quit school to play pro, and he was like, please guys, don't kick me. I'm going to do better, next week. Yeah, and he was like playing good already. He was really like mechanical, aggressive guy. Like it was like he got a nickname of First Blood King, right? Yeah. And actually he was really good and at figuring out what lane to gank, and people were other junglers were pretty bad at this, so he kind of knew all the matchups, how they should go. He would like talk to us who's gonna have push, and he would like plan his jungle route around this. He would like skip some camps, and a lot of junglers didn't do it back then. They would just farm from like top to bottom of the jungle, then maybe look for something and then recall, or like clear some wards with Oracle. I think people played with Oracle already still back then. So for sure he was one of the most aggressive and like high mechanical junglers, and the other one was FNATIC, who was playing like this. And us as a team, we had the biggest problem, so we played against FNATIC because he would match or even play better in this way than Jankos back then.
One thing from this style that you're talking about that actually has translated and people remember is Jankos is insane at knowing, like, on the fog of war, like when he can creep past as the jungler and so they don't see you come into the lane and you get like the free gank off, etc. One thing I remember in this era when he first came along is I actually did talk to some of the other good players in the league, and they actually told me that like he's not just getting like the first gank off. They were like, some of these ganks you don't even know is possible. Like no one even expects that you'd come at this level or come from this weird. Do you think he just has a sense for it? Was he a guy planning it? What do you think?
As I said, he would like think a lot and talk to the team of how the lanes would go, And if the lane said, okay, our lane should go like this, we really tried to make it look like as we said.
Right.
And then he would use it to his advantage. I'm not sure how other teams worked. Maybe they just like played their lanes and their jungle did like whatever. I'm gonna be cover top or like path to top. But you had like more planning regarding this. I remember, for example, against Super Hot Crew, we played against Selfie. We watched some VODs of them, and we're like, okay, this guy is like playing too aggressive, always past the river in his lane. So then Jankos would like just kill him 10 times in 2 games in best of 3. You know? So
Right.
I think it was both. Like he was really good at seeing those little stuff, and he understood that you don't have to clear every jungle camp, and you can skip some of them to gank and give your laners advantage and also get first blood. I mean, after he got the first blood king meme, it was a bit too much. Like he was getting angry if he didn't get the first blood, you know.
Right.
So after it got to his head at some point, I remember. Then we had to like talk to him that dude, just chill, you know, like you don't have to get first blood every game.
One of the strange things about this season was, as a rookie team, it looks amazing, but you also did what I think is the worst possible set of placings, which is in the first split, you come third. So you're like, oh, and you beat Alliance in the third place game. So it's like, hey, we're pretty good. And then in summer, famously, top 3 goes to Worlds and you finish 4th. That's the worst spot to be in. Is like, maybe I could have gone to Worlds. Maybe we could. Did it haunt you guys when you didn't qualify?
Yes, for sure, a lot, and it was kind of our history with Jankos that for like two years we were 4th back to back, and we missed the Worlds twice just by 1 spot, and I think it was both like best of 5, and we lost 2-3, you know, like 3-2 in the 5th game, and there was like a meme that we were like choking the game 5, stuff like this as well. So yeah, it is the most annoying placement, you know. It's like. You like in the Olympics, you try to run for the medal, and then you're 4th. You know, it's you kind of you're decent. You know, you're good, but you don't get anything for it in the end. And it's kind of how we felt as well, especially when we're always like this one little map away from it.
I actually did an interview with the coach. I mean, technically he was like the manager, but that was like a coach back then. Veggie, obviously with your team, who was working with you.
He was our head coach.
He's officially head coach.
Was Fly. Yeah, I mean, back then there were like no coaches.
No, that's what I mean.
In League of Legends. Yeah, so he was like friend of the team, I guess.
Right. But if people don't know, this is the question. He was actually someone I know who was studying, because famously he did tell me after this year, I made this tweet, right? Actually, because if people don't know, he actually has very good English. I did like a reflections interview with him. I actually just made this comment in terms of like the skill. I was like, because I thought in this team, well, the jungler and the support are the best players. And you look, the support's a guy playing like Thresh, and then the jungler's playing Lee Sin. I was like, they're like the Dandy and Mata of Europe. And then I remember him messaging me and going, you don't even know, bro. Like, I've just watched Samsung White win Worlds, and we're going to do what they did. And everyone remembers famously, this is why Nukeduck knows this if people don't know. He's a guy who actually looked at what they did in the Worlds, and he didn't just go, wow, what an amazing team. He figured out that all the vertical jungling type stuff that they all famously did that revolutionized the game, right? So can you give me some thoughts on this? I heard this actually kind of put you guys in a great spot, right?
Yeah. We did... I mean, me and Veggie were watching the replays together a lot from Korea. Others were not as interested.
Right.
So, you know, it was like Overpow would maybe watch for 15 minutes. They're like, okay, I'm going to play some solo queue, you know, play my little Zeeks. Jankos was back then more like, as you said, mechanical guy, and he would like only like think about his first clear and how to get first blood. But yeah, me and Veggie, we watched a lot how the Samsung White plays, and we tried to copy them because we figured out, you know, it's like the best team. They're like way ahead of Europe, so might as well try to see and learn like what was behind their success. And I think back then was that they play like a lot jungle support together, going for vision, playing around lane. So that's like those 3-man strong combos, like you said, Thresh Lee Sin, and try to snowball games from that. I mean, of course, we're not as good as them, but we tried to be baby version of them.
Since you guys, as you said, managed to get Nukeduck because you didn't qualify to the LCS, you got in this scenario where you did a weird swap where Overpow went top, and then you brought in Woolite to replace Celaver. And if people forget, I mean, I famously made a video, I got owned on this, where I said, like, I thought you guys actually had made like the team. Like, this looked like it could like win the LCS or something. This looked like it could be. Did you have the same kind of hype?
I mean, Nukeduck was really hyped as like the solo queue god, right? And Woolite was the rookie of the split, and like he did play really good mechanically, and I remember it was really hard for us to play against him. And he played with Unlimited, who was like, he was not bad, but he was kind of mediocre as support, and it was really hard to play against them. So we kind of thought, okay, this Woolite guy, he must be really good. And then, there's like two sides of the story. Like Nukeduck came out to be a little bit of two trick. He played on like Zed and something else, like some other assassin, I don't remember what. And they banned every single game in LEC against us. He's like two best champions. And Woolite, I mean, he was good, but he had his problems that everyone knows about. And also I think me and Jankos, when the team in the beginning, it was a completely new team, and we lost, Overpow was on top, and now the guy who was talking the most is on top, which was always kind of separated from the other side of the team. So now we lost our strong voice. Nukeduck was not really talkative much, and he was like put in a full group of Polish guys. So for sure he didn't feel comfortable. And then me and Jankos, we tried to figure out what can we do to help it, but we also started playing worse, I think. Then we like missed playoffs in the first split, and it was complete disaster. Before the split, we thought we did good changes, but then Overpow on top was not good. He was like good mid lane, but on top he was pretty bad. Nukeduck was he couldn't feel like the Overpow shoes, like what we needed, like the leader and the shot caller guy, like mid-late game, especially mid game. And what he was really good, but he was like when you play in the Copenhagen Wolves, like a superstar of the team, everyone is playing for you.
Yes.
And then it's easier to play when everyone is trying to help you, and jungle is perma around you, support is perma around you, top lane always ready to TP, Yangma playing Shen, always ready to ultimate, and then he like gets in the team of players that everyone wants to kind of be strong in the game and carry the game as well, So you had like Jankos who wouldn't like to like fall behind and farm, he would like always be too strong, Nukeduck to play for himself, and then it's like you have to play better and not make mistakes, right? And he was also not used to it. There was like not enough people covering for his mistakes, so it just didn't work in the first split.
As you said earlier, you referenced this. I was going to ask about the cultural clash, because that's another thing no one really thought about back then, which is, I would say this, from knowing a lot of Polish Counter-Strike players, I get this very interesting vibe in the teams, which is part of also why people are allowed to argue and be kind of blunt. It's because it's like you said about Jankos earlier. If people get good and they become like the star, oftentimes they get like big ideas and they think, and so it's a way of sort of keeping them down and be like, hey, listen, you still fucked up here and you're still part of the team, and don't be an idiot. And that's like kind of like the balancing act, I feel like. But the difference is, if people know, like Nukeduck's from Norway, if people don't know, Nordic people, especially like Norwegians and Swedes, are way more reserved, but they have like a strange sort of like, they're almost like a bit arrogant. It's like they just quietly think they're the best. And I know in this case, like you're saying, Nukeduck really was someone in his past teams where he would just tell them like, yeah, give me that whole bottom wave, like I'm on Z, so I'm going to get fed and I'm going to carry the game. And no one would argue, they just do it because he's the best player, and there doesn't have to be a discussion. So as you said, I imagine there must have been an interesting dynamic in this team. Like how did it work, Nukeduck and the Poles?
I mean, it was like a lot of times annoying for him because we were speaking Polish a lot, especially when we like started arguing. Then it's like we just full arguing Polish, then Fly. He was like, "Oh, guys, please speak English, like talk in English," And then like we didn't really care often, and we just talk Polish anyways. Then Nukeduck was like, "Oh, I don't care." He was just chilling there and not really caring as much, but. I mean, Nukeduck, as you said, like Scandinavian people are a bit more reserved, but Nukeduck, I mean, he was known to be a toxic guy in solo queue as well, Like he was like perma-banned or like banned, I think,
for a while.
Before. Yeah, exactly. So he was not as reserved as others, but I still could feel he was not as comfortable as when we got Mr. Rales and Steve in the team. That's really when Nukeduck opened up. So we got then like the second split. And also we had Yamato as a coach. So now we had like Mr. Rales was from Denmark, Yamato was from Sweden. He was like half Swedish, half Polish guy, and like also like with other roots, And then Nukeduck did open up. So for sure, even though I don't think he would tell you it was like a huge struggle for him to be in full Polish team, I could feel the second split that it did help him a lot to like lose this full Polish team narrative.
Right, being as Yamato, people will forget because he has that deep voice and he always looked cool. He was only 20 when he became the coach. Like, there was probably players that were as old as him in the team. What was that like? Because, I mean, he's always had that sort of presence, but it must be weird working with someone that the same age or something. What was it like? What was he like as a coach?
I mean, he always was kind of, like people ask, how old is Yamato? And you say he's like 20. Like, no one will believe you, right? He kind of has this, this aura of like a older guy, and the way he talks and acts, it's more, refined. I don't know how to say it. But he, from the start, I could feel that he can fill in the head coach role really well. And we did actually try out for coaches after first split, because now in Springfield our coach was Ledak, who now is like a TFT famous guy. Okay, dude, I was shocked because like 2 splits ago I started playing TFT a little bit in off season. I was like, okay, I need to watch some guides of how to play this game because I have no clue. And then like I see Ledak on YouTube. I was like, no way, is this guy, And then I learned that my coach from 10 years ago is now doing some stuff in TFT, some moves. But yeah, we did tryouts for coaches, and then we just instantly knew Yamato is going to be the right guy.
Right. When you made the team the next year, I think it's like a super team. If you look at these players, obviously it's a bagger. It's the one where Odoamne comes in for top lane, Ryu, the Korean mid laner, comes in, and then you get FORG1VEN, right? When you heard this team was put together, did you have high expectations?
Yeah, I mean, our goal was to win from the get-go. So you can say 1 year ago we were a bit hyped, like, okay, our team might look strong, let's see how it goes. But for the H2k team, like from the get-go, our goal was to win.
What is the story? Like, give me your first take of when you first meet as a teammate FORG1VEN. What's it like early on to play with them? Because, by the way, in most of these reflections, like that's one of everyone's favorite anecdote is like a FORG1VEN story or some story where he reams everyone out. So give me your take. What was it like to meet this guy? Was it interesting?
I mean, FORG1VEN has like kind of 2 personalities. So one of his personality is you go with him to a restaurant, you have a dinner, or like to talk him as a friend, and he's like really chill and he's like really nice to talk to, and he's cool, he's cool. But when it comes to game related and some stuff he says, or sometimes the way he acts is a little weird. He was a little bit explosive, like his Greek temperament would show often. I remember the first time I was like really surprised was when I played duo queue with him. We played because there was like this IM Cologne, and we started playing duo queue early to start getting some synergy going. And then we played for like 7 days, and I think we won like, I don't know, 80 out of 85 games together, something like this in duo queue, like we had insane win rate. And then like we always would like win lane, but like some games we'll just lose, because of the team. And it was like one game we lost lane, and then he instantly was like arguing with me, was like getting angry at me. I was like shocked, that once we lose lane and he gets a bit angry. It's good and it's bad at the same thing, because I could see that he is really passionate and he wants to be the best, and he wants to. I mean, he was the best back then, I would say, especially in like AD role and like as in laning. But you also have to learn how to get through. If you if you're always pissed off and you start being angry at people, you will not be listened.
I heard with you a very interesting dynamic happen, because people might know he has a strange thing about his personality where sometimes he doesn't always flame the supports that sometimes aren't even the strongest supports, where sometimes there'll be a player that's really good and he flames them. And I've heard some of it's based on like if you sort of fight back, like if you sort of do what he says and you try and listen. I've heard actually he can in a way he'll flame you, but he'll forgive you in a way and they'll keep playing. Is there a dynamic like that? I've heard he was pretty hard on you, mate.
I mean, it depends. I think he was like going circles. So sometimes he would be hard on me. Sometimes he would be like hard on Jankos. Sometimes he would be hard on Ryu, but very little. Like Ryu, Ryu was like the Korean guy. He was like always smiling, really nice. So I remember once he got angry at Ryu. It was at Korean bootcamp. So it was like already at Worlds later, yeah. And then Ryu, he didn't speak for 1 week. Legit. And I was like, after like a few days, I was like, really, what's happening? Like, are you sick or what's going on? And he was like, no, like FORG1VEN angry at me. I don't want to talk. So it was like something because we played. I mean, when you play at Worlds, you play against the best teams, the best players in scrims, and it's harder, And then suddenly, an enemy guy from mid is like roaming to bot. We die once or twice, and I think it was like against Uzi and Mata. I don't remember which team they played.
Yeah,
Some
RNG.
Chinese RNG probably. Yeah. And then FORG1VEN like he wanted to beat them in 2v2s in scrims. We did decent against them from what I remember laning phase. I mean, like FORG1VEN was doing screenshots after every game we would win against them. It was funny. And like if their mid comes and he like really wants to win 2v2, like he was sometimes angry.
When this team, as you say, it was supposed to win. This was supposed to be like essentially all the best players who aren't in like FNATIC, basically. You put in a one team, and G2 obviously had come along and was strong now. And if people remember, a lot of these players had also been in loads of semis. This is actually basically, this squad is what made everyone get that title chokers, because it was just semi-finals a million times more. But now you had the team that everyone thought should be in the final. It should be you against G2. So give me your thoughts. What happened in this first split? Because in the first split, it was you two at the top of the table. And then the semis, you were supposed to beat FNATIC and you beat the other team, and you were supposed to go to the final, and it was supposed to be the matchup. So, but I've noticed this happens with a lot of Forgiven teams. It's like the team could be amazing. It's kind of like what you said about winning the 1,085 games in a row. The team could be amazing, but the second it breaks down, it just goes and everything blows apart. And obviously people know after this split, he wasn't even in the team. So give me your thoughts. What happened in this playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, it was... I think we lost to Origin.
Yes, Origin first and then FNATIC in the third place game.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So we lost to Origin. It was like also 3-2 from, I think. So another 3-2 for me and Jankos. I mean, Origin was also good, back then. Like they kind of picked. So the thing is, we're like strong from the beginning, and some of the teams started getting to us. And I think maybe partly of our like there was like in our team, the atmosphere was not too good in general. Because Odoamne, he was like kind of reserved guy back then. After seems like talked to his girlfriend a lot and not really spend time with others. Ryu was from Korea, like not really talking to others. Like he didn't know English even back then, so even it was hard to communicate him with game. Then so it was like mainly me, Jankos, and FORG1VEN who were like the social guys, in the team, and our coach as well. So sometimes we try to like make up for the mood, sometimes not. And then when FORG1VEN would like try to argue with us and destroy our mood, then it was like no one would talk to anyone, So I think part of this was the team atmosphere was not the greatest in the team, and it kind of the longer we played together, the worse we did. And playoffs is like the finish, so that's why we played worse. I think at this time.
That's crazy, that story, though, that Ryu barely spoke English. Because if people don't know, supposedly back in Korea, he was like one of the shot callers. In fact, I believe he even coaches in the LCK right now. So how do you play with a mid lane who sort of can't what's happening?
Oh, he was also like tried to shot calling for us. He tried shot calling for us. He was for sure like the smartest guy in the team and the best guy in the team, especially in Spring Split. Sometimes he just didn't know what to say. So he would sometimes he would get angry and like start punching the table. And I say like, what's happening? It's like he said like I try to say something, but I don't know how to say it. And then he was learning English a little bit, like mainly from us. Like we were teaching him some words, like what he can say when he means something. Also, like Proli was because Proli was his coach in H2k like a year back.
Yes.
Of him and Odoamne. So they already knew each other a little bit. So Proli was trying to help him with English as well. And a lot of concepts he wanted to like teach me, Jankos, like others. He would have to do it with Proli, kind of translating, or like helping him to get his thoughts together after the games, And then so this also like slowed down the whole learning curve. But I mean that's also like weird stuff that in mid game like we tried to play a lot around Ryu's lane. He like tried to shot call, but he didn't really speak English. So. I mean, it's not hard to say like come bot, or like come here, look, kill, He would like talk like this, maybe like base Drake. So you can do it kind of in simple words, But of course, if you can express your thoughts better as a shot caller, it's gonna look better.
obviously there was that big drama that I've covered many times in videos where after this, FORG1VEN left and then Freeze came in to replace him, and then FORG1VEN went in Origin, and then I think it only lasted like 2 weeks in Origin, and then he was out, and then there was the period where the split went on, and then Freeze had his hand injury, and then FORG1VEN managed to come back, right? Here's my question, because we'll never know. If Freeze didn't have the hand injury, how do you think this team would have gone?
Honestly, we'll probably take FORG1VEN anyways. If he didn't have the injury, I think so at least. I'm not sure 100%, but there were some problems in the team with Freeze because some people in the team thought he's not playing good, you know.
Sure.
And he had the hand injury, so it was kind of easier to do all the moves, you know, roster-wise. For sure, like FORG1VEN was better back then than Freeze. There's no argument there. So yeah, I think it could. I think for the result, it turned out better in general. We wouldn't get better plays with Freeze, I think.
Right, I've heard loads of funny stories about when FORG1VEN came back, because even though at the time, like, there wasn't a lot of behind-the-scenes content, obviously back then, the rumours never got out to the fans, so even though to the fans it looked like, oh, FORG1VEN just rejoined his old team, and then they're just fine, but I've heard all these mega stories from Rich about how, like, he was staying in Rich's apartment, he didn't even play in the same team house. There's even a stupid story Rich told where you were all on like a voice comms and he didn't know you'd all gone into like the other room to have dinner or something, and he was just talking in like a whole VOD review for like 20 minutes thinking like, you know, wow, they're listening to me, like, and then the joke is like no one was on the other end of the call. It's like he was just talking to them, but it worked. I guess he thought like, oh, great, they're listening. So is there any funny stories from this time period? Because I know the weird thing about it is because he was amazing and obviously the results came in the playoffs, you have results at Worlds, like I almost got the vibe, because I was told from inside the team even before the end of Worlds, there's no chance this lineup plays next year even if we win Worlds, basically. So what was going on? Because it seems like the dynamic was like, we need this guy, he's really good, but we've also got to figure out how to make it so we don't go crazy playing with him, and we've also got to sort of keep that balance, right? We've got to have like, you've got to be a teammate, but we can't have him too close or something.
Yeah, I mean, it was exactly like that, the thought process, right? That we need him, he's a really good player, but he is making us a little angry, you know, from time to time. So like someone's idea, I think it was Rich, because like Rich, he really wanted FORG1VEN back, you know. And then he came up with this idea that, okay, guys, like, okay, you're arguing a lot with him. You say you don't want to live with him. Some of you then, okay, he's just gonna live with me in my apartment. You know, he's not gonna look like meet each other too often. Or like we're going with him for dinner also, you know, after, because as I said, like, after the games, he was a really nice guy, you know, and actually, I think everyone liked to spend time with him. But it was the problem in the game and in the reviews as well. I remember like once we had a review and we're like all listening to what Pro was saying, and FORG1VEN said he's not going to come to the review because it's useless. And then we're like, they're like talking about the game for 10 minutes, and then FORG1VEN comes suddenly. I'm like, oh, actually, he changed his mind. And he's like, guys, why are you doing this? You're fucking stupid. You're gonna do the same mistake next game anyways. Stop wasting your time. So there were moments like this, you know. And then, yeah, the thing with the other house helped a lot for sure. And we kind of managed to qualify to Worlds and do good there.
By the way, in the playoffs, the other thing was as well, because in the first round, this is actually the year it turned out FNATIC wasn't very good, actually, because you got to play them in the first round and you swept them 3-0, even though he did that like picture to be cool for fans where he like swapped jerseys with Reckless. I know this was like a big fucking deal to all the whole team, right? To get revenge on FNATIC and beat them, it was a big deal, right?
I mean, it was the biggest for FORG1VEN, I guess, because he had this like rivalry with Reckless. I think there were like some tweets as well before the best of fives, like he's gonna hack his tower again, things like this. I mean, we lost to them the third place match in Rotterdam, like in Spring Split, but honestly, we wanted to win, and we didn't really care if we're gonna win or lose this third place match to that much. So like we lost 3-2. Of course, you want to win when you go on stage, especially around the fans, but it was harder for us that we lost the semis against Origin than the FNATIC. So for the whole team, it was not really like a big, oh, now we're gonna get revenge for the third place match. But the FORG1VEN Reckless rivalry, it was huge.
And then also in the semis, you guys played that Splyce team that was pretty good. And here's the reason I want to ask a question about this. Because Odoamne is sick of everyone bringing up this fucking series where it was like gangplanking to Nav all 5 games. He's like, shut up, it wasn't just me. I didn't pick the draft. And also it wasn't just me who lost the game. Because he gets so mad that the team was obviously up 2-0, wasn't it? And then they like lost like the 3 games or whatever. What actually happened in this match? What from your perspective? It can't just be top lane, can it? Come on.
I mean, okay, I remember like 2 things. First thing I remember was that Splyce played way better than everyone expected because they had like a lot of new players. There was like Mickey X, there was like Wunder, Kobe, and they were kind of new, right, to the scene. So we thought we were gonna smash them, but they actually played better. And like next series, you could see that most of them are actually good players as well. And the second thing I remember was I think after game 3 or game 4. There was like a moment in one of those games where Jankos went to gank top. And before the gank, Jankos said, okay, I cannot come top now to gank because the enemy jungle is waiting there and we're gonna die. And then Odoamne said, no, Jankos, come, it's a really good opportunity, come, it's like free kill. So Jankos listened to him, he came top, they both died. And after the game, Jankos said, I'm not gonna listen to you anymore. I'm never ganking top this series anymore. Just you're on your own, I mean, I said it in a nice way, I think he said it like in a bit harsher way. So there's like 2 things I remember, and then he never ganked top anymore, I think. And I think we lost like in the game 5 somehow. I don't remember how even.
By the way, in amongst this, I want to ask this question now. What was Prolly like as a coach? Because actually, he's quite an interesting guy. Because even though it's funny, he did a lot of media work. And on media, he's really smiley and a really fun guy, very knowledgeable. But I noticed, I've heard as a coach, he had a little bit of edge. He could be spicy. So how did he work with the team?
I mean, he was smart about the game. Back then, it was like this lane swap meta and the spring split. I mean, also, actually, part of why he took FORG1VEN back was that before playoffs, or like in the middle of the summer split, Ryu decided to add those resistance to towers, or like plates. I don't remember those plates that were added. Maybe plates.
I think it was resistance.
Or just resistance.
I think so.
Exactly, that top and mid tower.
It was to stop people doing the lane swap, right?
Yes, exactly. So then, like FORG1VEN, like he was posting those memes that I'm coming back, stuff like this.
Right.
Because that was his like laning phase meta. Because I mean, people did try to avoid laning phase against us often, even like better matchups. So that was also part of the reason why I wanted to take FORG1VEN back, because now it's like we thought it's going to be more about laning phase and bot lane, and it was, right? People stopped lane swapping pretty much after that. Only like some of those cheese strats with like Sion and other like tank tops. But coming back to the question, what was it?
About Prolly as a coach.
Oh, Prolly as a coach, exactly. Yeah. So like the whole sprint split was like just thinking how to do lane swap better. What can we do as a team to do lane swap better? And we're actually really good at lane swaps. So we're winning. I remember like getting advantages a lot from optimizing the whole lane swap metas, like few different metas and ways to play, and that if they do A and you do B, you're gonna get ahead. If they do B, now you gotta do A but change something, and now you're gonna get ahead. And there's like in Korea they make new tactic. Okay, we instantly have to figure out why it's good. And so it was like this. He was very knowledgeable, but I remember he was a bit annoying as a coach. Like he, I don't remember what exactly, but he was a bit annoying. I remember, to me at least.
What about when you went to Worlds? People forget this first part, which is the first week went really badly. You lost to AHQ, you lost to EDG. Okay, fair enough, they're the Chinese ones. But after going 1-2, actually, most people would say you're probably not going to qualify. In this moment, I can imagine the morale must have been pretty fucking bad. Like, did everyone think it was just over? Were people arguing? What was going on?
I think we got really motivated. And we kind of came together as a team. So we're like, okay, guys, like those like whole year, sometimes we had argues together, like this whole FORG1VEN swapping with freeze. But now it's the last week of playing together as like the biggest tournament, the biggest stage, and don't let it go to waste just because of something in the past. And let's just get out of this fucking group, And then we just started tryharding. Everyone was, I don't know, kind of unleashed in a way. And we did like have a lucky quarter with the
Oh, of course.
Albox. So it was lucky, but we had to beat like EDG twice first, you know, and also like G2 lost to the other team, so it's not like they were completely boosted or anything like that. So for sure we did. I don't know. We just came together as a team, and that's why we qualified.
All right.
And also like this, we could have like this Rise. I think we started playing Rise also, like one of the first teams. I'm not sure if we played Caitlyn before, but I think against EDG we started playing Caitlyn. I'm not sure if it was like meta, but it was like best FORG1VEN champ. So we just play our best champs and let's try to win, you know.
Right, in the semi-finals, this is one of those ones where, because he never got back there again, it'll always be the what if, because everyone wanted to see what's FORG1VEN going to do against the Koreans in the semis. And unfortunately, this is where I want to get your take on it. If you're a fan of FORG1VEN like me, you watched the match and you were like, what the fuck? He just played Celaver every game. And if people don't know, FORG1VEN famously never plays Celaver. He's the one who even thinks like Civer's for losers who like can't lane because you can just obviously like wave clear and you just fucking run around, don't you? And he told me some bollocks like, I was trying to be a good team player and play what the coach wants or something like that, right? What's your take on this? Was it the right pick to pick? Should he have just gone with like, you know, his Caitlyn and shit like that? What do you think? Or whatever was available?
I mean, I played Civil because I wanted to be a good team. It's like big cup, you know. It's like it was not true at all. I don't remember why, but actually he wanted to play Civil, you know. Like he was like, oh, it's like okay, like Civil is not because of like Ashe meta back then, you know. Like he started playing Ashe AD and Jhin as well, and I don't remember. There was like other pick that we didn't play, so
probably
he didn't really want to play Ashe. I'm not sure if Kalista was in the game.
Fair enough. Okay.
Maybe not. Like, I don't think he wanted to play Ashe. He didn't want to play Jhin. So then other champs were like really weak against them, you know? So I think he just wanted to say, okay, Civil is like good champion into them, you know? It's like, I'm good in lane anyway, so I'm gonna be fine, like even, and I scale. So it's like more of a reckless mindset, right? But if you ask people now, like a lot of people would pick Civil into Ashe, for example, you know? It's like just a good champion that helps the other teammates catch the Ashe, right, with the ultimate.
Right, here's the... go on. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, but I think we did decent, like not really getting behind, you know. We didn't play to win the lane especially, but we did play to be even, and we were even, from what I remember. Maybe not game 3, but we actually, funny thing is, after we lost in my current team in Turkey, after it was our series in playoffs, my AD carry texted, he just started watching my old games. Like he did watch this World Semis.
One thing I have to ask is this. After this, right, FORG1VEN didn't play for a while. He went away. People like Odoamne stayed on H2k. Jankos was around at the same time. They brought FORG1VEN, blah, 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 blah. Why did you end up in the challenger scene? Why did you have to go to Schalke? Was there not an EU LCS off there for Vander? Like weren't you one of the best at your position that last year?
I mean, it was a bit problematic, and I did get a little bit fucked by H2k because they did tell me kind of late in off-season that now, because I mean, everyone knew it's not gonna be easy for him probably, and we have to part ways with him, right? So it was like a initial plan, but I think they did try to find AD to play with me in the beginning, or at least that's how I remember the story. And then after they saw that no one else is really available to like on the level of like Sven, FORG1VEN, those type of guys, then they went for Korean guy. And then the Korean guy didn't speak English as well. And then who did they take? They did Nukeduck.
They took the Korean bot lane, yeah.
It was Nukeduck,
right?
Yeah. And then there was, okay, like probably one Korean. We had this problem with Ryu. He was kind of homesick and didn't have anyone to talk to. So they just take whole Korean bot lane. It was really like December when I knew about it.
Right.
I started making rosters earlier. I think there was like even some story of some teams wanted to like buy me out before, but they didn't want to sell me because they weren't sure if I'm gonna go or not. And then I still had some offers from like bottom teams of EU, but I actually got like a really good offer from Schalke in terms of like salary, and also I could choose players I want to. So I thought, okay, maybe it's better to go to Schalke, make my own roster, and qualify from there. And that's kind of also how I found Upset,
Yes, that's what I was going to ask. Obviously, in this team, you played with Baby Upset, right? This is when he first made himself known to the world. Who was this guy when you met him?
Sorry, what?
Who was Upset when you met him?
Oh, I mean, it was kind of fun because I was already knew I'm gonna go to Schalke. I think it was like known for like 1 or 2 days for me, and then Veteran was the coach of the team already. So like Veteran was the coach and I was the support, and we didn't have anyone else. And then I just played solo queue, and I had this Upset guy in my team, and he played Jinx and I played Trash, and it was kind of a love from the first sight. After this one solo queue game, I just added him. We played like 1 more duo queue. It was like insane again. And I was like, okay, we'll come to like, I don't know, I think it was like Skype back then or something. Like people didn't use Discord yet or like TeamSpeak. And I started talking with him on TeamSpeak. And then we started playing together. And I was like, hey, dude, like, you know me, I'm going to make a change the series team for Schalke now. And I think we should play together. He was not sure in the beginning because he did get offers from other LEC teams like Giants and someone else. But in the end, we did convince him. I also had to like take a pay cut from my salary so he gets paid more. So he comes.
In this esports world, it can seem like everyone's against you, but I've always got the Skrilluminati, my Patreon community, riding with me. And it is thanks to the support of the following people, this video and all of them on my channel are made possible. Matt, Pugnacho Rakula, Ahmed Haju, Frisky, Tosh, Jensen Gore, Animosity, Toucan, Tobias Bernasconi. If you've ever watched my videos, you know now I'm going to give a massive shout out to Jerky's Minion, the main man. Do you want to suggest a topic or a guest for my content? You want teasers? Find out who the upcoming interview guests are. Maybe you want to ask me a question. I tend to answer them at length in my video AMA. Do you want to take part in one of those dinner discussions where we talk about what you're interested in esports? Well, if any of these perks or more appeal to you, put your money where your mouth is. Join the Skrilluminati today, where in the description box below is a Patreon link.